If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I really love Mario. A lot. Maybe too much. Saying Mario's my favorite Nintendo franchise is probably the same as saying white bread is your favorite food. But I mean, if the bread is this good... This franchise is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Right along with Sonic, though I do prefer Mario a bit more. I know what I'm getting whenever a new Mario game comes out, whereas any new Sonic game has me fearing for my life until I actually end up playing it. He's more consistent in being inconsistent. We gotta remember, this is the game that came after Heroes.
I bet those legs are fragile.
Back on topic. I've always really loved the world these games take place in. You got Donut Plains, Bob-omb Battlefield, Toast Arena, Rico Harbor. Don't even get me started on the Galaxy games, dude. So many silly little guys too, man. I would put my life on the line for Claw Grip. You know, with a world this fast, I bet a movie based on it would be pretty sick. Where the fuck is Claw Grip? Okay, so this one's pretty weird. For starters, this is actually the second Mario movie. The first one was released only in Japan 7 years prior. I wrote in the script that I hadn't seen this one yet, but in the middle of writing it, I ended up watching it, and I actually really liked it. Like, a lot more than I thought I would. Anyway, this movie went through hell and back, and so did its actors. Daily script rewrites and the directors apparently being frustrating to work with made filming a mess. Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, Mario and Luigi, would often get drunk on set. Hell, Bob Hoskins actually ended up getting injured multiple times during filming too. As for the movie itself, it's very, very messy and honestly isn't super close to the games. I really like it. It sits in the same camp as something like Shark Tale for me, where it's like, yeah, I know it's a bad movie, but I don't care, man. I like it anyway. This would actually end up bombing pretty hard, and the reviews, to put it nicely, were not super kind. The fallout from this movie would put an end to any future Nintendo adaptations, at least on a scale like this, because there's still like the Fire Emblem and F-Zero anime, and also the Animal Crossing movie that released in Japan only. Well, it'd be an end to that until like 2019. I thought it was pretty good. Even though I'm not a Pokemon fan, I still really like this movie. I think it strikes a good balance between being made for the fans, but also being a genuinely really good movie too. Wish it got talked about more because I think it's really cool, all things considered. Closest we're getting to a sequel of this is probably it being mentioned in the third Sonic movie, which I also thought was really good. The year prior, Nintendo announced that they were working on an animated Mario movie with... Now, an animated Mario movie had actually been in the cards for a bit. This broke out during the 2014 Sony leaks, but ultimately it would end up staying in the deck. They'd actually end up working with Sony again for that Zelda movie that's coming out soon, but I don't care. More news would come during a Nintendo Direct on September 23rd, 2021, and very quickly became one of the most infamous Directs Nintendo's ever put out.
First, of course, is Mario, who will be played by Chris Pratt.
I genuinely do not believe a soul on this earth was prepared for this moment. 5 years later, and Donkey Kong being voiced by Seth Rogen is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. It's even funnier if you remember that he and James Franco starred in the movie that led to us even finding out about an animated Mario movie. Said movie's not very good, but I mean, if you want to see Kim Jong-un shit himself while singing Firework by Katy Perry, then it's perfect.
Oh, excuse me.
Did you just shark?
We wouldn't get anything else until
Pigment 4, yeah!
We wouldn't get anything else until less than a month later when the trailer came out, and it looked good? Like, really good? This was actually the first time we got to hear Chris Pratt's Mario voice, and a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't really know what to think of it since he only really has like 2 lines in the trailer, and one of them was cut from the movie. Jack Black's Bowser voice was really good though. Glad we can all agree on that. As each trailer came out, the more and more I got hyped. Just don't know Claw Grip though. Fuck's the point. And when that day finally came, I sat in that theater, and 92 minutes later, it was alright. I mean, I didn't love it like every other Mario fan did, but I mean, I had my fun with it. I did have my issues, of course, but overall I still had fun. However, the few times I'd rewatch it after release, the more the cracks would start to rear their ugly head. The honeymoon phase was starting to wear off, and once it finally did, I'd start to see the movie in a less positive light. Now, I definitely don't hate it or anything, and especially when it comes to video game movies, I've seen a lot worse.
Rick and Morty.
But if one of the nicer things I have to say about this movie is I've seen worse, I think we've got a problem. And if there's one thing I want to praise off the bat, it's the way this thing looks. It is absolutely gorgeous from start to finish. Being an Illumination movie, it's obviously bright and colorful, but I'd say it works since, well, I mean, that's what Mario is. I also think they did a really good job with the character designs. They're pretty faithful to the games, but with little added details. Like, Toad has legs now. He has legs now. Plus, something about the little notches on Mario and Luigi's gloves just really makes me smile. Really hate this Secret Life of Pets looking ass dog though. The environments also look really good too, with the Mushroom Kingdom probably being my favorite one. Using these bangs looks like it'd be actual hell though. Ugh. The character animation is another one of this movie's strong points, with Bowser especially being the highlight. Luigi too, for the little screen time he has, but ooh, we'll get to that. You can tell the animators had a lot of fun working on this movie. And man, do I gotta mention Brian Tyler's score in this thing. The way he mixes music from different games to create something new is genuinely so fucking cool. Don't really like the licensed music here though. Really, the only song I don't mind being here is Mr. Blue Sky. I can't even tell you why. It being there just makes me smile.
You know Dougal ended it with this song too, right?
Anyone seen Pimp My Boat?
The other songs just have no reason to be here. Like, why the hell is Thunderstruck playing during the cart scene, man? What are we doing here? These replace music that was cut from the final movie. Music that fits these scenes way better, by the way. Jamie Scott, one of the movie's sound editors, actually commented on a review of the movie saying,
Funny you mentioned the song Jump. A little insider info. The first two temp mixes had the final fight cut to Jump, and Brian Tyler eventually won that conversation, and we got the Power Up song in the final. Jamie Scott, 2023.
Can you imagine if the final battle had fucking Van Halen playing over it? Dude, there'd be riots in the streets. Oh my god. Licensed music aside, the score is fantastic, and I think Brian Tyler knocked it out of the park. And speaking of audio, I guess, it's time to address the elephant Mario in the room. The voice acting, and honestly, it's pretty good. For the most part. Fred Armisen's Cranky just ain't it, man. I'd prefer if he used his normal voice because it kind of feels like he's just doing too much. I think that Gilbert Gottfried would have been perfect for the role, but he sadly passed away a year before the movie release, so what are you gonna do? Chris Pratt's Mario is pretty contentious. I think he did fine enough, but he's for sure the weakest besides Cranky. Everyone else here does pretty good though. Jack Black's Bowser, of course, steals the show. His Bowser is fucking psychotic and it works so well. Charlie Day also does a great job as Luigi. His voice fits him like a glove. It's a perfect casting choice, especially for the little amount of time he's actually there. Anya Taylor-Joy and Keegan-Michael Key as Peach and Toad respectively, I admittedly don't have much to say about, but I do think their performances are also pretty good. Also, special shout out to Kevin Michael Richardson, who just kills it as Kamek. Doesn't surprise me too much since he literally kills it in everything he's in. If you don't recognize his name, you'll definitely recognize what he's been in. And lastly, the guy from the studio. Something about Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong is just so funny to me. I do wish he at least tried to do a voice instead of using his normal one, but at the same time, I don't know, this is kind of funny. Let's talk about Red Luigi and Green Mario. I really love their relationship here. The movie does a good job showing that these two really care about each other, and it just puts a big dumb smile over my face. That it promptly turns upside down. I've already alluded to it a few times already, but Luigi doesn't really get much else to do other than be Mario's main motivation. It makes him also getting the superstar at the end feel completely unearned since all he really did was rot in a cage the whole time. He only has 15 or so minutes of screen time, which is baffling for a movie called the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And it's a huge shame too, because I think Mario and Luigi work super well off each other in this movie. Their relationship's a big reason why the opening chunk in Brooklyn's my favorite part of it. Now, I don't necessarily mind the idea of Luigi being the damsel in distress. If anything, I think it's a pretty nice change of pace, all things considered. I just don't think it was executed very well. Maybe they could have had him tag along with the other three, like in Mario 2 or Mario 3D World, and have the journey test his relationship with Mario. Or maybe even give him an arc about feeling stuck in his brother's shadow, and have him come into his own. They could have done so much more with him. Then again, Luigi getting shafted is pretty accurate to the source material. Now, this is something the second movie actually fixed. Mario and Luigi are on screen together a lot more than this movie. Now, that's one of the only things that movie fixed, but we will get to that one in due time, don't worry. On to Mario now. I like him fine enough. He's really the only character here that gets somewhat of an arc, mainly about proving himself. If I had to be completely honest, there isn't really much for me to say about Mario on his own. I think the reason I like him as much as I do is because he's just kind of a regular guy here, if that makes any sense. He's a lot more down to earth compared to his counterpart in the games, and I don't mind that at all. One is just a happy, jolly little guy, and the other is just a chill guy from Brooklyn. I like the contrast. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say about him other than I like him and that's about it. Same for Peach and the other characters, really. I do like how she's more involved in the plot here, and it's cool seeing seeing her kick ass, since that's never really something you see her do outside of like Super Mario Adventures. Not a ton for me to say other than that, she's fine. Toad, much like Luigi, doesn't really do much throughout the runtime. The only major thing he really does is guide Mario to Peach's castle, and I guess he also gives Peach the fire flower during the wedding, but other than that, he's just kind of there. The movie tries setting up Mario not really caring for him, but it doesn't really do anything with it at all. I honestly don't really have much to say about Donkey Kong either. He has a little rivalry with Mario that's kind of amusing to watch. However, they just move past it so fast that it just leaves me scratching my head by the end. At one point, he mentions that Cranky Kong doesn't really respect him, but put a pin in that. We'll come back to that soon enough. Bowser is definitely the standout character here. He actually doesn't have that much screen time, but he absolutely commands the scene whenever he shows up. I already mentioned how good Mr. School of Rock's vocal performance is, but it really does help make the few scenes focusing on him stick. Gonna have to dock some points though, since he and Mario don't really interact until the final battle, which is just kinda lame. Like, imagine if in The Lion King, Scar and Simba didn't interact with each other until the very end of the movie. Not only would it get rid of any stakes the movie had, but it'd also make the conflict feel less personal. Now, thankfully, they interact a lot more in the second movie, but that can wait. Oh, it can wait. That aside, Bowser's great. Kamek is too. Kamek's great too. Yeah! Okay, we gotta talk about this movie's pacing.
It's no good at all.
It is way, way too fast for its own good. Even among the people who really love this movie, this is a common complaint. Now, a movie being fast-paced is far from a bad thing. The problem is that this movie isn't built around that at all. Look at something like the Lego Movie. That movie's also really fast-paced and also has Chris Pratt, which look at that. It hits you with a lot of jokes, but also gives you time to breathe and like actually care about the characters you're watching before hitting you with the next one. Mario, however, doesn't do this, and it just leaves me feeling super exhausted by the end of the movie. When I said this movie isn't built around that, I really meant it. It has all these characters, all these locations, and all this stuff set up, but it's too stubborn to do anything further with them. As a consequence, it feels less like a movie and more like action scenes strung together by an incredibly paper-thin plot. Look, I know it's a Mario movie, one by Illumination no less. Of course it's gonna be light on story. But like I said in my original video on this movie, the games can get away with that because you mainly go to Mario for the gameplay, unless you're playing one of the RPGs, of course. However, this ain't no game. It's a live-action thrill ride. Movies don't have the same interactivity a game does, so it only hurts this one even more. I've seen a lot of people use the defense of, oh, well, it's a kid's movie. But that excuse doesn't really fly when stuff like Toy Story 2 exists. That movie was also made for kids. But now that I'm a lot older, I appreciate it even more than I already did, because of its themes of being played with and loved dearly, but with the con of being damaged, versus being displayed and essentially living on forever with the con of never being truly loved. And I already appreciated Toy Story 2 a lot. I love that movie. I'm not saying Mario has to be as deep as that movie or anything, but I am saying just because it's a kid's movie doesn't mean it can't do anything more than the bare minimum. Mario does try to have its emotional moments, but it ends up falling flat on its face because it's more focused on getting to the next action scene more than anything else. Remember that Donkey Kong scene I mentioned earlier I told you to put a pin in? Well, that's what I'm talking about right now. He mentions Cranky only sees him as a joke, but it's hard for me to feel anything for him when the movie literally never sets this up or mentions it ever again. I guess it does lead to a pretty funny joke.
Well, your dad's right! You know what? I feel bad enough. Just leave me alone.
But it also kind of pisses me off if I had to be real, because like, why even mention that? What was the point? This whole thing really could have used a whole... Ew. This whole thing really could have used a good 10 to 15 more minutes added to its runtime so I could actually have more time to, you know, fucking breathe while watching it. But then again, maybe I'm the fool for expecting more considering the studio behind it. Also not too big on the amount of references in this movie. Now, I don't typically mind when these kinds of movies reference the source material, just as long as they don't go overboard with it. This one, though, you might as well call it Adam Sandler because, yup. I will say, I highly appreciate the attention to detail here since it does do a good job of helping the world feel alive. And I will give them this, some of these are actually pretty cute. Like Mario playing Kid Icarus at the very beginning, or Ludwig's name on Bowser's piano. Is it Ludwig or Ludwig? I don't know. Besides that though, it just feels like the movie's using these as a crutch. The best way for me to put it is, it's like if you kept getting served food at a restaurant so you didn't notice the kitchen burning down. I said the same thing in my Letterboxd review of the second movie, since that movie arguably has it a lot worse in this regard. But it's also a big issue in this one, so it really applies to both movies. The worst example, it's definitely this one. No contest.
You can't escape me! What? Blue shell!
Did he really need to yell that? Was that necessary? The Journey to the Kong Kingdom's another pretty bad example too. Like, wow, I know what that place is. And that one. Yep, that one too. Wow. Maybe you could just say that I'm miserable and hate fun, but I don't know, man. I prefer movies that are more than just Easter egg hunts with little substance to speak of. Once you look past the beautiful animation and great music, there really isn't anything else to this movie. Those two things alone aren't enough to save a story that's barely there and a script that isn't anything to write home about. Doesn't really make up for its pacing issues either. I know a lot of people love this movie for being super faithful to the games, and to give credit where credit's due, it is super faithful. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that hurts it a little bit. There is such a thing as being too faithful. Really funny how both these movies are on opposite ends of the same spectrum. Once the novelty of Mario being in this medium wears off, it just leaves me asking, okay, what does this movie have over something like Mario Odyssey? I feel like in trying to be so faithful, it just loses a lot of its identity in the process, and doesn't really give me any incentive to seek it out over just playing one of the games. It makes me appreciate something like Detective Pikachu a lot more because the references in that movie don't feel like a crutch, they feel like they're actually complementing the story. And sadly, the problem's only gonna get worse from here.
I'm off to go kill myself.
Look, I can ramble about this thing all day, man. I probably could. I don't think this movie's bad by any means, but I sure as hell don't think it's any good either. I feel like they could have done a lot more with this movie than they ended up doing, but I guess a lot more doesn't rake in $1 billion now, does it? I've definitely seen worse movies. Hell, I've seen worse movies from the same studio, but I've definitely seen a lot better, especially with some of the same actors, animated or otherwise. Mario means a lot to me, and he has for many years now. I can jump into most of the games and have a great time, but after this video, I don't think I'm ever watching this movie again. Maybe I expected too much from the studio that only has one movie I'd actually consider good. I just gotta accept that this one isn't my cup of tea. The games aren't going anywhere at least, so that's good, but still, you deserve better, Mr. Jumpman. Okay, migration's cute. Okay, I like migration, even if it's also pretty middling, but I like ducks. Fuck you. I'm just happy I can stop talking about this goddamn movie. I'll get to you next year.
Now that's a happy ending. Or is it? Because everything's over now. And all that's left is you and the infinite void. Kind of makes you want to play saxophone, huh?
Holy shit.